Animation Academy.
Finish. With that being said, who's ready to start a monster piece? Excellent! Alright, cool. Let's begin with a circle, which is going to be on the upper middle of our portrait, helping show off his taller face. We want plenty of room for that jaw. Now near the upper middle here, I'll add in a nice big circle about the size of a tennis ball, going round and round with my pencil. Now as I drop in a bunch of light circles, I don't need to draw a perfect one, because this way it gives me what I want without needing to do it the right thing first try. Now after I add this in, I'll add in some construction guidelines to help find his facial features. So first up, I'm going to divvy this up in half with a straight line going from top to bottom. And as I go right in the middle, I'm actually going to have it span my entire page, so that we've got a bit of symmetry and we know where the rest of his jaw is going to lie down here. We'll also add in his eye line, which I'm going to go ahead and cut off the bottom fourth of this circle, stretching out a straight line going left to right. Now once you have Kylo Ren's lightsaber going through an orange, it's a good start, but obviously this looks more like Mike Wazowski and not Sully, so we're going to start extending down that big lantern jaw bits. Which, super easy trick, we're going to take this circle, double it on the bottom, see where that spot is, and then draw a little hash mark, because that's going to be the bottom of his face. And then for that bottom jaw, we're going to add in a stretched out U-curve going side to side, spanning the same width as that circle we drew at the beginning. It's going to fan out towards the sides though, since he has a lot of really good cheek fluff, since he is very fuzzy. So on either side, from the sides of the circle, I'm going to add in two very stretched out J-curves, just swooping off towards the sides. Now once I add those in, I'm still staying really nice and light to make sure I'm still matching on both sides. I don't want him to have any dead head. Because he's got to get up and get ready for the day as the top scarer at Monsters Inc. So we'll go ahead and connect the corners from that J-curve down to the U by adding in a very stretched out parentheses on either side. Ta-da! You did it! Now going back and forth, I've already got a really great silhouette for him, but we're going to hop on the inside to find his more concrete facial features. Now first great point to start with is going to be his nose, which is fairly easy. Right where these two lines cross, I'm going to start a very stretched out diamond shape, starting with a very pointed mountain peak on either side. And then I want to flip it over on the bottom with this giant V-curve, not V-curve, two diagonal lines, creating that stretched out diamond shape. And I'm very happy with this nose, so I'm actually going to go back and do something called locking it in, which means I'll go back, finish up my lines with a nice dark line, and they get locked in for that final draft. If you guys need to make any adjustments though, stay nice and light, because we are the one place in the entire resort that encourages you all to stay sketchy. Don't tell Roz though, she is always watching. Now as I lock in this nose though, you'll already see it's really nice and bold and making my lighter lines fade to the back of my paper, making it look really great and standing out. As well as on the inside of the nose for some extra detail, I'm going to add in two number 7s for some nostrils. Now once you've got those, we've got a really great starting point for his drawing, and we're going to use it to find his smile. Now right below this nose, I'll go ahead and add in a stretched out U-curve, where I actually wanted to perk up a little bit more on the left side, creating that Pixar smirk. Which if you are unfamiliar with the Pixar smirk, it's very simple. Normally on a promotional movie poster or just normally inside the movie, if you have a very confident character, you're always going to have this nice confident smirk and this big jaw to show off that they're very self-assured, whether that's good or bad. Which I think for Sully, that is a very good thing, because, top scarer, great employee, best friend in the whole wide world, he's got a lot to be confident about. What are some other Disney characters who you know that have a big jaw like this? Yeah, Buzz Lightyear's a really good one, very confident toy. Any other characters? Yeah, Woody too, Tigger, definitely, very confident tiger. Any villains who have big chins? Yeah, Gaston. Nobody's got a chin like Gaston. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Whether for better or worse, confident characters are going to have this large lantern jaw to show you that they are confident. Now for that smirk, I locked it in, but I'm also going to add a little bit of a snaggletooth, since even though he's very fluffy and soft, he can still be a bit scary. So we'll add in a rounded triangle, almost like a little candy corn sticking out of that smile. And then we can also add in some other minor details, like another little U-curve underneath for that bottom lip. And then with that, we'll also jump up towards the middle and start working on those eyeballs. Maybe we can really see him come to life. Now on top, we're going to do that same cool drawing hack we did at the beginning, that circle, just going round and round again for his eyes. Now as I start with those circles, if I'm happy with number one, I'm actually going to go ahead and add in a little line to make sure both of them are nice and tall. Now as I go round and round here, we're also going to do another important thing, which is just thicken up the top of the eye to create. So thickening up the top line is going to help us show off those lashes while locking in the rest of the circles. Now if you want to change out the pupils, you can have them looking up, down, all around, maybe even some little hard eyes or shamrock eyes, and same patterns right around the corner. Or you know, I'm going to add in 2 more circles near the inner corner so he's looking straight forward. Now as I go round and round, I'll make sure these are nice and light, matching them up. But once you're ready to lock them in, make sure they're super dark because you really want to see that emotion and expression in his face. So I'll really make these super good and dark. Now of course, I love Monsters Inc. I don't know a single person who doesn't because it's such a funny movie. And I also love its prequel, Monsters University, that came out about a decade later. So it's very fun to see the origin of the friendship between Mike and Sully, even when the technology looks that much better just a decade later. Also showcasing that kind of animation. Now working on those eyes, we'll also go ahead and add in his brows, which I'm going to make super nice and light because we haven't locked in the rest of his face yet, because we're going to add in a lot of that fluff in the hair. But since we're already about halfway done, I'm just going to check in. We doing okay out there, my friends? Okay, sweet. I got some filming fun.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's way more important. Now, of course, even if you're not confident in your drawing, I want you guys to give yourself a lot of credit because I don't think a lot of you have drawn Sully before, so I think you should pat yourself on the back for your first time. He's awesome. Now for those eyebrows, they're going to be these bigger, chunkier rectangles. So I'm starting with some rainbows, creating more of a Dwayne The Rock Johnson look, where one's going to be turned down on the left side, and one's going to be a little bit higher on the right side. And as I add in the rectangles, I'm actually going to mirror that same rainbow curve right above it, and then connect them on either side with those C curves. Now again, staying really nice and light, we want to add in his fluff. But if we drew in as many hairs as he has in his 3D model, we would be here for like 2 months. So instead, we've got a really great way to do it, which is just using things called grass blades and shark fins. So in locking in this eyebrow, I'm going to add in some shark fins on the very top, already showing off that hair in a fun stylized way that also makes it much easier to work with. And we'll just do that for most of his head as we're all catching up. And that means we can talk just a little bit more about this movie because I love it ever so much. Super fun movie from Pixar, which still was in their early days because they started with the first movie, Toy Story, all the way back in 1995. And as they were developing, they were creating essentially 3D animated movies for the first time. We hadn't had any fully CGI movies before Toy Story. So they were figuring out how to make everything look nice and be able to make it look perfect for a movie. Now for something like Toy Story, they realized they couldn't really figure out hair just yet because hair is crazy hard to animate even in 2D because it's always so organic and it moves independently all the time, so you have to do every single hair individually. So for something like Toy Story, it was fairly easy to work around since all the toys are made of smoother materials like wood or plastic or porcelain. And then for someone like Sid or Andy, it was super easy just to give them a buzz cut or just make them bald, that way they didn't have to work with it. And they do the same thing for their next few movies with Toy Story 2 and A Bug's Life, since all the bugs are also smooth textures. But when they got to Monsters Inc., they really wanted to mess around with the hair texturing and make it work. So they created an entirely new physics engine just to render all the hairs on Sully's body, which by the movie's premiere, they had made over 2.3 million hairs all over him. And as we moved on to Monster U, technology had gotten so much better in that short amount of time that now he had triple the amounts with over 6 million hairs all over his body. That's a lot of hair to draw and animate. So good on them. Now I'm going to go ahead and lock in the rest of the face using that same technique, where I still want to stay really close to the main shape he drew, just adding in some extra fluff around the cheeks and the chin. Now this is a really great, lovable, fun guy, which means he needed a really great voice actor. Does anybody know who voices Sully here? For his new group, he plays Pacha, who's taking care of Cusco the whole movie. And even in a movie like Princess and the Frog, he plays Big Daddy LaBeouf, who also helps out Tiana, which I always think is super cool. Now, of course, he needed a great man to play Mike as his best buddy in the whole world. So who plays Mike Wazowski? Yeah, Billy Crystal. And the really fun thing about it is that John Goodman and Billy Crystal are also best friends in real life. So it was such an easy job to be able to voice being best friends. So all they had to do was just play off each other like they always did for their comedy. So they got to record in the voice booth together, which meant they really got to improv a lot of their lines. For example, the entire scene where they're improvising an entire musical, that thing back where it came from, Or So Help Me, absolutely none of it was scripted. It was just them playing off of each other for about 5 minutes of dialogue, which I always think is insane. But I think that's also a story writer's dream come true, is that the actors already build all that character chemistry for you. Another great voice actor was for the sweet little girl, Boo, where she was actually played by a real-life little girl named Mary Gibbs, who was the same age at about 2 or 3 years old by the time she was recording. But if you're getting a toddler to do absolutely anything for more than 15 minutes, let alone sitting still, it's not going to happen. So instead, they got really creative with it, being able to have her play around in the studio and just run around and play with her toys. And then they'd follow her around with a microphone and capture everything she was saying, which all her dialogue in the movie, which I always think makes it way cuter. Now we're missing 2 more important things on the top of his head. What's that?
The horns.
Yeah, the horns. That's right. So we need to add in those good ram horns. You guys having fun? Perfect. Now for those ram horns, we're going to start out with some curved C curves, right where those eyebrows are ending, lifting up towards the top of the circle here. But as I add those in, for the outside of the horns, I'm going to do some more staple shapes, adding in some straighter lines. So for the top of the horns, we're going to do line number 1. Line number 2 is a slanted diagonal, cutting back down towards the middle of the circle. And then line number 3, tying back in towards the middle where his eyes are. Now as we add those in, we'll go ahead and lock them in. You can even add in more of a 3D aspect, since he's got some little ridges and rings around his horn. So we'll just add in a few more lines to help capture that aspect. But yeah, working with Boo was just so cute. And actually, they did name Boo after Mary Gibbs, so her real name is Mary. And you're able to see it if you look really closely. When she's drawing in their apartment later at nighttime, she actually signs one of her drawings as Mary. So it's just a cute little Easter egg to go and find out. You'll also see a lot of Easter eggs if you go inside Boo's room, where at the end she's showing all of her toys to Sully, and she's got a Finding Nemo plushie, which pretty much was just prophesying the future movie, because Finding Nemo hadn't even come out yet, as well as Jessie from Toy Story is also in her room. Now finishing that up, anything else you want to add from here on out? It's going to be extra credits. If you want to add in Mike Wazowski or Boo herself here, that's up to you. Last big thing we want to do to finish up our drawing note is sign our work. So find a good spot on your page and sign your name. And with that, you guys have drawn the one and only Sully. Okie dokie, friends. With that being said, how'd we do? Alright, we got more woos in the midpoint, a few brutally honest people. Not to worry though. Did we still have fun? Yes, that's what I love to hear. Now we have just a little bit of time before we gotta go, and I want to see these cute monster pieces. So go ahead and turn those boards around on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, Sully! Oh my gosh, these look so cute. I love it. Are you kidding? No thumbs down. That looks fantastic. Give yourself a huge round of applause, my friend.